Hi everybody, today we're speaking with Daisy Whitney, the author of a new novel called The Mockingbirds. It's a great book, touches on a very sensitive subject, the subject of date rape. It's kind of scary.
Date rape is a hard topic, but this is a wonderfully inspirational story, and the main character stands up for herself, which is awesome to read. Welcome to our show, Daisy.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're so excited.
We are. The book, The Mockingbirds, is based on a real experience that you had in college. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm 38 now, happy, healthy, married, have kids and all of that. But 20 years ago when I was a freshman in college, I was date raped. I was at Brown University, and it was, definitely one of those transformative experiences. Probably the part that was most transformative was I had a really supportive group of friends, and they stood by me, and they also were instrumental in me basically having the courage to press charges in the university disciplinary system at Brown, and the boy was subsequently found guilty, and that kind of became the inspiration years later for The Mockingbirds. It takes place in high school, but it's about a girl who's 17, and this happens to her at high school, and she also decides to speak up, although in the story, she does it through an underground, student-run kind of secret society of students who are devoted to justice.
The Mockingbird Student Government Society is fascinating. I mean, how did you come up with that?
Well, it was originally, in the first draft, it was primarily a story about date rape, and it actually took place, I had it taking place in an above-ground system, which is very similar, as I said, to the one that I went through, and it felt so inauthentic to the teen experience. I said, this is just not how it would work in a high school or a boarding school for something like this to actually happen, especially because obviously they're underage. I mean, these are students, fictional students who are under 18. You would have to involve adults. I mean, that's just how it would work in the real world. So I said, for this to really work, it needs to be underground. And as soon as I knew that it needed to be underground, that's when I started creating this whole world of the Mockingbirds and how they operated.
I thought that part of it was just fascinating. I was just the whole time going, how did she think of this? And how little secrets here and there come out about. You'll have to read the book because I won't do it justice if I try to explain it, but it's fascinating.
Right.
I was going to say something just about the acquaintance rape or date rape happens really quickly at the beginning of the book. And I gotta be totally honest with you, and I'll say that my first reaction was like, oh my gosh, that girl was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it didn't even occur to me that it was really a violation until you see over the period of time how she becomes frightened, too scared to eat in the cafeteria and too scared to walk across the quad and needing friends and having flashbacks. And I think most people don't even realize that girls who have this happen to them have those kind of post-traumatic stress.
Absolutely. And I think that any type of experience like that, in some ways, it kind of mimics the different phases of grief, where there can be denial and anger and eventually acceptance. But definitely, I think denial is one of the first things, is trying to talk yourself out of it. Like, wait, this can't possibly have happened to me. And how could I have been in a situation where this happened to me? So you try to convince yourself that maybe it didn't happen, but then then you realize as the pieces come back in whatever shape or form that happens, that yes, unfortunately, this did happen. And then it has this broader ramification of, changing your behavior.
And the other thing is the boy in this story was so open and proud and even to the very last minute, he was thinking he was in the right. And it kind of made me sick a little bit. I really want to teach my sons, really, really get in, that no means no, and yes means yes, and an absence of yes means no.
I totally support you in that. And I have to say, I've met some booksellers who have sons, and they have said the same thing to me. This is a great book for girls, but I want my teenage son to read this. I want all his friends to read this. I want them to understand too.
I mean, I think you're so wise to be talking about this. At first I was kind of like, oh, it's a hard topic. But then you're wise to talk about it because the characters in the book that were Alex's supporters, the main character's supporters, helped her recognize herself what had happened to her. Because I think if you don't have that support, how are these girls supposed to know? And if we don't educate the young men and young women that this actually is a crime, right? They don't have any idea.
And, the statistics will bear that out. 1 in 6 women will be victims of sexual assault at some point during their lifetime, and girls 16 to 19 are 4 times more likely than the general population. And they're also, half of the date rapes occur amongst teenagers. So yes, there is, there is the rape at knife point in an alley and all of the horror associated with that. And there is also acquaintance rape, and that is something that we need to be talking about as well. And people have said to me, like, your reaction is reading a book about date rape, but then people said, but it's actually not depressing, and that's kind of the point. And that's really what I wanted to do. Book is to show how to heal.
In the book, you have Alex begin a romance, and I think the coolest part about that romance, at least when I was reading the book, I felt like she was remembering what really feeling affection and really feeling a desire to be with a person is, and contrasting it with, her doubts in terms of whether or not she actually wanted to be with the guy who assaulted her.
Of course, that's one of my favorite parts of the book, is her growing relationship with Martin. And it was important to me. I wanted to show that, yes, you can start to move on, and that you can see the differences between, the situation where you didn't have any choices and your choices were taken away, and actively choosing and saying, this is a boy that I like. And that even if you have gone through something like rape or date rape, that you can still go on and have a happy, healthy relationship. And that, as a teenager, you can still like boys or girls or whoever it is that you like, and you can still want to have, relationships with them that may be physical to some degree.
This has been really wonderful information, Daisy, and thank you so much for coming on MommyCast and expressing and sharing all of this with us. I think it's just one of those topics that people are just not real comfortable talking about. And I think one of the things that is an easy thing to do is maybe for parents to read this book with their children, with their older, daughters or sons, as they're going through and start entering into the dating scene, that maybe this is a way to open the communication between them.
I'm a huge believer in that. I think a lot of times when something is an uncomfortable topic, discussing it through some sort of art form, or through a book, through literature, through film, or whatever it is, can definitely start opening up the communication. So I'm all for that.
Well, thank you so much, and we appreciate you coming on MommyCast.
Thank you.